Hey, our next guest is trying to be the governor of the state of South Carolina. She is in a Republican primary. Catherine Templeton is with us this morning. Catherine, good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning. Thank you.
And I guess my first question to you would be something I'm curious about. If I were out there running for a specific office in a Republican primary in a state like South Carolina, how do you deal with what I call a very unique and different American president, because he is the leader of the Republican Party?
He is the leader of the Republican Party, and I'm glad he's a unique and different president, because what we had wasn't working. That's why we hired him, because we don't want it. We don't want the same old anymore. We're tired of being promised things, and then they take from us, and then they don't give back to us. And, you know, he's our bulldog. And so that's how you deal with him. You get behind him, and you put your shoulder into it.
Catherine, what makes you different from the other people seeking this office? If someone is looking for unique and different, and I do believe there is a profound appetite in the electorate today that are looking for something not like everything we've had before, why are you that person?
Because I don't need this job. Because, I've spent my entire life virtually in the private sector. I rotated shifts when I got out of school. I went to law school and then defended jobs. I'm a mom of 3. I mean, I'm normal, if there is such thing as normal. My friends told me I need to put normal on my bumper stickers. And the only reason that I am doing this is because when President Obama told the state of South Carolina that we couldn't have 7,500 jobs that we were due, Governor Haley asked me to help her fight. And she asked me to help her fight that, the Obama administration, because I had 15 years of experience beating labor unions and beating back and not backing down. And so because of that, I got 4 years of sort of on-the-job training, and I'm the only person, not only the only person in this race, but the only person who we will never have had a governor who has actually run a state agency and actually knows what happens when that dollar comes out of your pocket, goes up to the legislature, watches how they manipulate it, spin it around, take a little bit, put it in their pocket, take a little bit, put it in their friend's pocket, then send it over to all the bureaucrats in all these agencies, who then spread it amongst themselves, and then we don't get there's nothing left at the end. I mean, I actually know how government works. And so being an outsider, can't be bought. I'm not a part of this whole Quinn cabal and all this corruption probe. I made decisions in government because they were right, based on math, based on what we needed. So I've been on the outside, but I know just enough about how they do in government to be dangerous to those entrenched bureaucrats and those politicians. And that's what's different. We've got great business people and great politicians running for governor. In 60 days, you're going to have to make a decision about who your governor's going to be. There's only one person who's actually been in business, created private sector jobs, fought for South Carolina jobs, and knows how to skin a cat when I get there. So I've got the experience. And here's the other thing, Ken. You've heard me say this over and over. I don't need the job. I've never run before. I'm never running again. I can't be bought. And sort of as a symbol of the fact that I'm doing this for service, I'm offering myself to go serve. I'm not taking the paycheck because it's not about the money. And I'm not doing it again because it's not about me. I'm going to give all I've got for 4 years. So, I was called in Rock Hill. A lady raised her hand last week, and she said, "So let me ask you this. Am I right that you're the female Trump with class?" I started laughing. I said, let's not say that our president doesn't also have class. And, so I think we're looking for somebody who's gonna be a reformer.
Let me ask you this question. Yesterday, Paul Ryan announced he will not seek re-election as a member of the House of Representatives. He's a leader in the Republican Party. I've got a theory. You may disagree. I've got a theory that Paul Ryan is more ideological. He's more about conservative governance, and he's frustrated at the fact that Washington has kind of given up on fiscal responsibility. But he's not really a populist at heart. Trump's message is more populism. Catherine is somebody who is seeking the Republican electorate support. What is the balance between the ideological conservative version of traditional Republican politics and this infusion of nationalism and populism that is very prevalent, I would argue the prevailing force in Republican politics and maybe American politics as a whole?
Yeah, I think the Republican Party started off with the right idea that you want to cut government. You want to cut spending. You want to cut regulation. You want to shrink government so that it only does the things it was created to serve. It was created to serve us. The Founding Fathers were real clear about that. And I think because of politics and you send people up there who amass power, they start taking care of themselves instead of us. They grow. I think they lost their way. And you can call it populist if you want to, but let's just call it a conservative revolution. We want conservatives to go to Washington, to go to Columbia, and take care of us. Quit taking our money. I don't know if you saw, I rolled out my tax plan this week, which is normally, wah, 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 wah. All politicians talk about it. But I've actually done the math. Again, benefit of actually being a business person, but having experience in government and seeing what they do with it. The more we make in South Carolina, the more they take. And it's outrageous. And so I've done the math, and my tax plan cuts our income tax down to 4.9%, 4.85 really, from 7. We have one of the highest income tax rates, and I don't think you should penalize a person for going to work. And I think that's both conservative and populist, and important. I mean, that's what we want.
Let me ask you a question. I've heard you referred to as a buzz saw. Do you wear that with a badge of honor? What does that mean to you, and what do you want it to mean to the voters of South Carolina?
Well, I'll tell you what it meant. The liberal media called me a buzzsaw because when Governor Haley asked me to come fight for our jobs, I did. And I didn't back down, and the AFL-CIO sued me. Didn't back down, won that case, won those jobs. While I was doing it, we cut government. We moved 1 in 4 entrenched bureaucrats out off of our payroll into the private sector. We privatized programs so that government was only doing what it needed to be doing or getting it that way. Then went in and cut $68 million in another agency, and the liberal media lost their minds. And there was this big old headline that said, "Buzzsaw goes to DHEC." And I thought, it hurt my feelings for about a minute. And then I just kind of stood up straight and laughed. I said, that's right. That's exactly right. And so politicians will tell you their vision. They'll promise you, I'm going to go cut. I'm going to cut government, cut spending, cut rate. I'm going to go do it all. Guess what? Don't believe politicians. We've seen it over and over again. Go look at my record. Go Google the article about Templeton and Buzzsaw that the liberal media wrote. I think it was the Post and Courier. And go see what I actually did. And then decide if you're going to vote for me, because I've actually done the things we want those politicians to do. And, in 60 days, I think 63 days actually, you're going to have to choose between me and a fellow who has been running for governor for 30 years, who is a nice guy, but I don't think he knows anything about the budget or your money. In fact, he signed into law the largest tax increase in modern history, and I'm not even talking about the gas tax, within the first couple months of being the fill-in governor. And, so it's a pretty easy choice about what we want for the next decade, and if we don't do something different, we're going to have him for a decade. I'm not willing to leave my children with him and their futures.
Last question. You mentioned 60-some-odd days. I can remember counting it down to the exact day, and there's a sense of liberation when you get close. People don't understand, and I mean this sincerely in the most complimentary way. When you offer yourself up for statewide office, I mean, it's a sacrifice, and I mean that sincerely. It's not just a sacrifice on the candidate's behalf. It's a family sacrifice. It really consumes the majority of your world. I've lived it. I understand it. I respect and admire what Catherine's doing and how much effort she's put into it. She's a very serious candidate. But, Catherine, to the people out there who don't know as much about you, how can they find out more? I know you'll be in town, I think, next week, if I'm not mistaken, or the following week. How can people find out more as to whether or not you are the one they choose to be our governor?
CatherineTempleton.com has all the policies. It has all the numbers. You can kick the tires. But I wasn't kidding when I said if you go Google Buzzsaw and Templeton, Catherine Templeton, I think that's probably more about what people say about me. And it's 61 days, 10 hours, 36 minutes, and 57 seconds, Ken.
Well, good luck to you. Appreciate your time this morning, and I'm sure we'll talk in the not-too-distant future.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too.